Hey, Shalom. Call Allah Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives to do so. To the scattered hopeful elect across the four corners of the earth, and those among the heathen nations that look like the heathen nations, pursuant to Jeremiah 12 and 9, known as the speckled birds. So this is not just a black thing. I am the disciple of Parium, a follower of Great Millstone, coming to you with a lesson in truth and sincerity. So this lesson is going to be called Be at Attention When Taking Advice. Okay? So I want to first start off in Psalms 1 and 1. It says, Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Because we know that, we're not to take counsel from those who we're not speaking the same language, essentially. We're not equally yoked. We're to take counsel of godly men. Okay? And second, we know that we've changed in this truth as well. And we're not to take counsel from, our friend's wife or vice versa. Their husband taking counsel of our wives. It's just not right. That counsel is supposed to be of holy men. All right. So now I want to go to Proverbs 1 and 22. It says, How long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity, and the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. All right. So essentially, you're able to read people's spirits, and when their spirit is off. Okay. And definitely off if they're taking counsel in somebody else's wife rather than of other men. So now I want to go into this word. I believe this is Fools, Strong's H3684. And this Kasayal, dullard, simpleton, arrogant one, especially those, these Edomites who are arrogant in their white supremacy out of ignorance, but also out of, who they could have been in their past life. So now we're going to go to Proverbs 19. Verses 20 and 21. It says, Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, that shall stand. All right? I believe there's a word in there. It's let's see where it's at. Talk about. I believe it's devices. Let's see. Yeah, this is it. 4284 is going to be machashba. Okay, so thought, device, plan, purpose. And then the other word I wanted to get was that word counsel. I believe verse 20. And let's see. And that's going to be Aitaza. All right, so it's to be counsel, advice, purpose. Okay, and knowing in what one's purpose is very important. So right here we'll jump down to Slaki. I believe this is the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. So we want to go ahead, tap to view entire entry. And I want to go down to number 2 and number 3. It says counsel with any one forms, right? Especially use of the counsel or purpose of Yahweh. And it gives you some precepts right there. It says, man of my counsel, whom I use as an instrument to execute my purpose. And that's the purpose of the will of Yahweh, right? And then jump down to number 3. It says, as a faculty of forming plans, prudence, wisdom, especially that of Yahweh. Okay? And who you consult with, these men of Yahweh. Now, obviously, the Akwath that are out there, if you have a woman who's an elder woman who's learned properly in this truth, and she's going to be teaching the younger women and also the younger children. I believe that's in the book of Titus. Correct me if I'm wrong. So now I want to go down to, I believe it's Proverbs 16 and verse 9. It says, a man's heart devises his way, but the Lord, Yahweh Shem El Shai, directeth his steps. So you don't have no free will in this. Okay? Contrary to popular belief into plantation Christianity, and so forth. Now I want to go into the book of Sirach 37. I just want to get those couple precepts from the beginning before going to Sirach 37. I think we're starting on around the 7th verse. Yep, there he is. And actually, I'm going to read the GNT from my computer, and I'll go ahead and scroll down. You guys can follow along in the KJV. And bear with me for a second. My computer is a little bit slow. Okay, so verse 7. I'm going to read on my computer, and I'll just go ahead and scroll on down. It says, anyone can give advice, but some people do so only in their own interests. Verse 8. Be careful when somebody offers you advice. Find out first what his interest in the matter is, because you can be sure that he is thinking primarily of himself. Why should he come up Why should he come out on top instead of you? Verse 9. He will assure you that things look good and then stand back to watch what happens to you. Verse 10, it says, don't ask advice of anyone who doesn't trust you, or don't give advice to anyone who is jealous of you. Verse 11, don't ask a woman for advice about a rival of hers. All right, so right here in verse 11, it kind of gives some really good, good advice to kind of adhere to in your daily walk. It says a coward about war, a merchant about bargain. Let's see, a buyer about selling, a stingy person about gratitude, a cruel person about kindness, a lazy person about work, a casual worker about finishing a job, a lazy slave about a difficult task. It says, pay no attention to any advice they may give. All right, so we will do verse 12. And I have a precept pulled right here for this. So instead, rely on someone who is religious, right? And know to keep the Lord's commands. Someone who is sympathetic with you, who will be sorry to see you fail. All right. When you read the KJV, actually, let me go to 1 Peter 3 and 8. So it says, finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous. Okay, and when you go into that that word of brethren, that goes into I believe it's Philadelphos, which sounds very much like Philadelphia, right? There it is, Strong's G 5361.
Strong's G 5361. Philadelphos. Philadelphos.
All right, and I want to go ahead and read. Let's see. The biblical usage is in the broader sense, loving one like a brother, loving one's fellow countryman, right? Verse 8, of an Israelite, okay? And Christian just means a follower of the Messiah, which actually goes into the Hebrew word Hamashiach, which goes into basically they were called Hamashiachim. There was no, actual C back in the day, or they were Christians, so they were called Hamashiachim, and those were Hebrews. They were the Hebrew Israelites. All right. Let's jump back to Sirach 7 and verse 34. This is regarding they will sorrow with thee. It says, fail not to be with them that weep, and mourn with them that mourn. Okay. So let's go back to Sirach 37, back to verse 13. And I'm going to read again in the GNT, Good News Translation, and you guys follow along right here on the phone. It says, and trust your own judgment. No one's advice is more reliable. Okay. So essentially, why let the counsel of thine own heart stand? Okay. So I want to go to, let's see. Let's see, verse 14. For a man's mind is sometime wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above in an high tower. So let's go to 2 Corinthians. Twelve, 9 through 10. Actually, I want to read that in yeah, let's go ahead and read that. It says, and he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Hamashiach may rest upon me. So essentially, there's certain things we won't understand or know until we actually go through these things. Okay? And you start to see where your weaknesses are. But through those weaknesses, you are made strong, through Hamashiach's, for what he has suffered. Because, if Hamashiach suffered, how much more we have to suffer as well. Verse 10, therefore I take pleasure in infirmities and reproaches and necessities and persecutions and distresses for Hamashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now, I want to go to James. Let's go back to the blue letter because I want to pull up the NLT. And then we'll go to James 1 and 4. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Okay, so let's talk about that patience. All right, so it says, but let patience have her perfect work. And what is patience? Patience is suffering. Okay, so back to the book of Sirach, verse 37. And I believe we left off at verse 15. It says, and above all, this pray to the Most High, that he will direct thy way in truth. And I want to get Proverbs 3 and 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So anyways, with that, I pray this lesson was edifying. Kwam Yasharallah, Shalom, and on to the next.